The Auburn Tigers really need to land this defensive lineman.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up on this Friday. Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery, radio legend, hanging out with me on this Friday edition of the show. Earlier today, Darrell, I asked you, I gave you some homework because I've kind of asked this to everybody who's come on the show this week. 3 players that are in the transfer portal that you want Auburn to land. And you added the following criteria, which I think was smart, but these are all guys that Auburn has reportedly offered, and there appears to be some actual traction and real interest. So let's start with the guy that seems to be picking up steam most recently because he entered the portal most recently, but Florida defensive lineman Chris McClellan. He's listed at 6'3", 290. I think there's a lot to like about what he has. He wants to stay in the SEC. And Darrell, I spoke with somebody close to the situation in Florida shortly after he entered the portal, and he said he entered the portal for 2 things. One was player development. He wants to be developed. And the other was strength and conditioning. And I think so far in the short track record that Hugh Freeze and his staff have at Auburn, I think both of those boxes could be checked, and I think it's a legitimate shot he ends up here.
Yeah, I was really looking for realistic targets. I mean, we could have a wish list that's pie in the sky, but these are dudes that Auburn has identified as targets and that they've offered. And McClellan's a guy, as soon as he jumped in the portal and that announcement was made, I thought, I wonder if Auburn's interested. And it didn't take long to see that Auburn made an offer. I mean, Auburn needs offer. Yeah, they need defensive tackles. This is a guy that had some tackles for loss. He's a good run stopper. I believe he had 3.5 sacks, if I'm reading that right. I looked at a couple different places. So he's disruptive. I like his size, and I like the fact a lot of guys jump into the portal for 2 reasons. They jump into the portal for bags of money, or they jump into the portal because they're not getting any playing time. And I don't blame, especially the playing time. To hear this guy list his 2 main reasons to get developed and to get stronger, to get a strength and conditioning coach that holds you accountable, I think he could be a Marcus Harris type, a guy that comes in, plays a couple years at Auburn, and really does a lot for Auburn's defensive line.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I really, really like what he did. Former 4-star across the board. I think that's important too. And once again, this is a situation where Auburn needs defensive linemen, and they don't have to start. But the pitch is you will play. You will play for an SEC program that is trending up, and an SEC defensive front that, as long as Ron Roberts is here, you're going to get to do some fun and some sophisticated stuff that you're not going to be able to do everywhere else. And that's stuff that the NFL will look at. So I'm there with you. And if I'm Hugh Freeze and I'm Coach Garrett, Auburn's defensive line coach, I'm pointing to Marcus Harris. I am pointing to Marcus Harris, and I'm saying, look, Marcus Harris was solid a year ago, but we helped him take that next step. And I think that's going to be I think that's going to be used in selling a lot of these defensive linemen. He's, one of the several defensive linemen we've talked about already since the portal has been open. You cool mentioning your the second guy that you sent me? Yeah.
Before I do, I want to just expound on a point that you made that was a really good point. Is that I believe McClellan is further along right now than Harris was 2 years ago, coming from Kansas. So that's another. Good point is that if you look at a guy like Marcus Harris and how he evolved in 2 years, McClellan's ahead of where he was coming from Kansas. So that's even more.
And his starting point was higher, right? I think we could agree that his starting point was higher in the sense of, McClellan's a 4-star across the board. Marcus Harris had to go to Kansas, and obviously he proved everyone wrong, which is part of his incredible story, and he got to come home to do it. But sure, yeah, I agree with that. Who's the second name that you sent me?
It's a receiver that when he jumped in the portal became immediately at the top of my list. And I know there's other guys that like Lacey and Lewis from Georgia State and Juice Wells from South, but I love Will Shepard. I love him. I loved him when I saw him in person in Vanderbilt. And I remember and I won't call them out because I don't get permission from people to call their names and talk about them unless I run it by them. But there were 5 or 6 other dudes in the press box that were all, following Auburn, covering Auburn, that said, man, if this dude ever jumps in the portal, Auburn needs to be all over him. And he jumped in the portal, and Auburn's all over him. I think he scored against Auburn, one of the few offensive bright spots that day. He's just prototypical, man, as far as an NFL-type receiver, body. I know he only has 1 year to play, and a couple of other guys on the list had 2.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, but I don't mind that either because, look what's coming in from a recruiting standpoint. So you could maybe redshirt one of the Fab 5 or Fab 4 or Freeze 5 or whatever if you had to with a guy like this. So I love the fact that you could learn a lot under him. He would instantly become the senior leader in that receiving room. Follow me. I'll show you the way, like the Mandalorian. And I think that he absolutely is dynamic. I mean, this is a guy that I laid my own eyeballs on, so it's not film, it's watching him. One of the things that I was really impressed with is I could not stop watching him during warm-ups. I know that sounds stupid, but I know a lot of coaches that tell me when they go recruit a kid, like in basketball, they watch how he warms up. Is he taking it serious? Is he goofing around? This dude was absolutely had a certain system that he was using, and I was just like, man, this is impressive. He was very structured. Love him. I hope Auburn signs him. I think he's the pearl of the wide receiver class.
Yeah, and I love that he's able to – he has proven track record of creating his own space, creating his own separation against SEC defenses. It wouldn't be a situation like a year ago where we had to talk ourselves into, okay, can Jair Shorter do this? Can Shane Hooks do this? Can Nick Martiner do this? Will Shepard has done it, and I think it'll kind of – I don't know. I think that kind of speaks for itself. And then quickly, the third one, we won't spend a whole lot of time here because we are going to talk more defensive backs in just a second. But your third one, Darrell, if you don't mind, is Will Lee, the former Kansas State cornerback.
We got one of the coolest nicknames in all of college football. His full name is Will the Blanket Lee, I believe, is how they call him. So very, very good. Yes, very 6'3", 185, had 3 interceptions this year. Look, if there's a trend that I'm going away from when it comes to portal wants, and this isn't a knock upon any lower level of college football, but I think I got caught up last year in all the hype of all these group of 5 receivers. Now, the group of 5 offensive linemen worked out really well, and the group of 5 edge rusher in McLeod worked out really well. But I'm looking more, if Auburn's going to go portal, I'm looking more Power 5 schools to make that immediate adjustment. I think Auburn got burned a little bit with guys that the lights were just too bright and they weren't ready. I think a guy like Lee is ready. He's played big boy football in the Big 12, played against some good receivers. That's why I'm really leaning towards Auburn taking Power 5 portal guys and not dilly-dallying around with the group of 5.
I like that. All right, so the 3 names that we mentioned today, Chris McClellan, the former defensive line or the former Florida defensive lineman, Will Shepard, the wide receiver from Vanderbilt, and Will Lee, the former K-State corner. Auburn's safety position, Darrell, is fascinating. It's fascinating. So let's discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Darrell, you love Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. We all love betting. We all love playing sports or following sports and being more invested in the game. Prize Picks does exactly that. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. With basketball season here, you can pick combo projections across football and basketball. They've got a league specially created for combo projections that include 2 or more players from different sports. You got LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5-point combo. They've got all sorts of stuff. So head over to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Right now, you can use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege, or use their great app and use code LockedOnCollege for that first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Auburn Med Aesthetic. Darrell, you and I were talking about this. Sometimes it's hard to know what to get the significant other for Christmas. Sometimes it's difficult. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
No, I mean, they give you so many options. I mean, it's just a wonderful way. And all the variety of services, get a gift card or, and you can just let your significant other choose. And it's very customized.
It is very customized. AuburnMedAesthetics.com. Get a gift card. They've got a ton of different things. And you mentioned the customization. That is thanks to Dr. Nancy Herring and her master esthetician, Circe Kelly. They've got a ton of experience in this space. So go to Auburn Med Aesthetics, the full med spa serving Auburn, Opelika, Lee County. Gift card purchases are available at AuburnMedAesthetics.com or just stop in and see them. They're over there across from Chappie's in Auburn on East Glen Avenue. AuburnMedAesthetics.com. Perfect for last minute Christmas shopping. You won't regret it. All right, Darrell, the safety position is fascinating at Auburn. And I think it's fascinating for a few different reasons. So a few, I guess, news bits that we've discussed here that we haven't discussed here that we need to is Jalen Simpson is not coming back. He accepted his Senior Bowl invite, which is great. Good for him. He deserves it. And then Marquise Gilbert, a depth piece in the safety room, has announced that he's going to enter the portal. So now you're looking at this, and we talked about it earlier in the week, that it does not appear that Auburn is pursuing safeties via the transfer portal. And a lot of people are associating that with the confidence in the pursuit of potentially flipping 5-star safety KJ Bolden that's been committed to FSU for a few months now. I think when you couple that on the potential, Darrell, the potential of Keontae Scott coming back and the confidence that they have in Laquan Robinson, the incoming JUCO safety, this is a position group that's being flipped, but it's being flipped by recruiting, not necessarily the transfer portal. And I think that is interesting because none of the other positions are really like that.
Very interesting. When you talk about filling needs, that's what you want the portal to do. You don't want to have to reconstruct a roster like Auburn basically did last year through the portal. They've done that already. Now it's just plug a hole here and there, a great need. One of the guys you didn't mention either is Zion Puckett, who hasn't declared one way or the other if he's leaving, if he's coming back. So if he comes back, that makes the safety room even that much more crowded, and Wooden as well. If he comes
back, which if I had to guess, I think he will come back. Does he start over KJ Bolden or Laquan Robinson? I don't think he starts.
No, it gives you depth. It gives you depth, though. Yeah, he would be an insurance policy type thing. But I believe that KJ Bolden is that elite that he can come right in and start day one. And same with Robinson, who's an absolute thumper in that backside. And then, like you talked about, Scott playing the star. It's interesting. There's two schools of thought to that. And I don't know what's going to happen. I've just heard both sides. I've heard that with Pritchett and DJ James moving on, Keontae Scott played cover corner at JUCO. Could they move? You love that size, my gosh, and that tackling ability to play boundary corner. I mean, I don't know. Does he do that? And they don't move him back to keep him at star. I don't know. That's interesting. It seems to me they would go after somebody in the portal at safety if they were planning on letting him play corner. And then corner wouldn't become such an immediate need in the portal. So I think that it'll be in the tea leaves as to what Auburn signs in the transfer portal. If they sign a corner, I think he moves back to star. If they don't, I mean, you got Kyan Lee over there, JD Rim. You got some freshmen coming in. Very interesting. And then, of course, a portal guy, hopefully one way or the other as well.
I think the offers that we've seen so far, I mean, we already talked about Will Lee, the former Kansas State corner, being offered via the portal. I think they want to get a starting corner to complement Kyan Lee, and they could bring in some of these younger guys to kind of rotate in behind them. And there's several of them. We've talked about them throughout the show today in the last few weeks, because the talent in the defensive back room is there. It's just the experience isn't. So like when you look at these corners, like with JD Rim, Kyan Lee, Terrence Love's a safety, Austin Osbury, is he going to find a role on this team? Colton Hood, Tyler Scott, JC Hart's a guy that we were all really fired up about. These are all dudes that I think will play. Can they play this year? as a third or a fourth corner, possibly. They've got the talent to do so. They've just got to put it all together and get that opportunity. I think that's going to be one of the underrated position battles that happens throughout spring camp in the coming months, Darrell. But I don't like the idea of moving Keontae Scott, assuming he comes back, to corner. I just don't like. I don't think that's his strength. He's so rangy. I don't love it when he turns his hips. I think I'd rather see him facing the football and then just attacking. I think that's just a style of play that he's developed, and he's really, really good at it. But if it came down to it, it's nice, right? That adds to the depth and the versatility, and maybe that's part of what he wants to do. Maybe that could lead him to coming back. I can't imagine that that's something he necessarily wants to do, Darrell, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But Keontae Scott, to me, looks like a middle of the field player, and I hope that's what he does for Auburn in 2024.
Well, you got to wonder, too. First of all, I misspoke. I just remembered Auburn has offered a safety in the transfer portal. They offered, I believe his name is Adonis Arnold. He's a safety from Oregon State.
Oh,
so
okay.
he is in the portal, and he has received an Auburn offer. And that was 2 days ago. There's two defensive backs from Oregon State, a corner and Arnold, that both have been offered by Auburn that are in the portal. The second thing is, you wonder if he was moved to a boundary corner position, if that would take away the punt return aspect. A lot more demanding, a lot more wear and tear, a lot more study, a lot more responsibility. You don't want your first string cover corner going down, returning a punt. Does that take the special teams aspect out of it? So who knows? But that could be something to look at as well.
Sure. And as far as just the pecking order, like if that's the case, I'm just going to guess Auburn's starting defensive backfield in their base, in their nickel. I think Kayan Lee is one of the starting corners. I think the other starting corner is not on the roster yet. I think so. We'll just put transfer portal cornerback. And then I think your starting safeties are Robinson, the JUCO kid that's coming in. And I think the other one will be KJ Bolden, Darrell. And I think Keontae Scott starts at the star. And then all of a sudden the depth looks like Zion Puckett. Caleb JD Ram Wooden. Yeah. I'm expecting Sylvester Smith to take a big step forward at one of the safety spots this over the spring.
Champ Anthony, is that Anthony as well?
Champ Anthony played a lot more than I was expecting him to. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have a role in this roster too. So all of a sudden this depth is starting to fill in, and we're only kind of going into the second recruiting class with Hugh Freeze and this coaching staff. You're already starting to see the depth come through. A lot of these guys that'll be depth pieces will be starters the following year. The way it's supposed to work, the way elite programs manage playing time in their roster and create pecking order and depth chart and competitions and a plan for the future. So you're starting to see it come through. It's just going to take time. But this defensive back group, I'm going to feel really good about the safeties. There's going to be a ton of upside. Not going to feel as good about the corners next year until we see who they go out and get at that other cornerback spot. Because I think Kayan Lee's going to be good enough to do it. It's just who's going to be the guy next to them. So we will see. I think we're going to have a different starting offensive line. We definitely will. But Auburn has sounds like they had a great visit with a Matthew Bedford. We will discuss him in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Eddie's Calzones, one of the best Italian dishes in the world. Yes, Eddie's Calzones, baby. Let's go. Darrell gets it. They're located at 130 North College Street in downtown Auburn, across from the new Target. There's nothing like Eddie's. They've got specialty calzones, extra crispy wings. They've got a bunch of sides, including their loaded curly fries and tots. And Darrell, according to reports, they have the coldest beer in town.
That's strong. I mean, look,
big deal.
A hot, steamy, melted cheese calzone washed down with an ice cold beer.
You can take advantage of their weekly specials at Eddie's. They got 2-for-1 calzones on Tuesdays, half-price wings on Wednesdays, and beer specials Sunday through Thursday, $2 domestic, $3 import, and craft beer from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. They're also open super, super late. They're open till 4 a.m. So be sure to check them out. on Instagram, Eddie's Calzones Auburn, or their website, eddiescalzonesauburn.com, or give them a call, 334-329-5111. Eddie's Calzones, Wings and Beer, open and delivering until 4 a.m. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, have you ever just been like, dang it, I wish I could buy a steering wheel for my car. I wish I could buy a taillight for my car and it just show up at my door. Yeah. So many different things. And you're like, I don't want to have to worry if I'm paying too much. I don't know the market for these things. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. ebaymotors.com is how you can solve this problem. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die vehicle. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. USA. All right, Darrell. Auburn had a visit from Matthew Bedford. He is a redshirt senior. And it sounds like it went very, very well. He is from Indiana. Probably an interior offensive lineman. Could possibly play tackle, but I think Auburn sees him as an interior guy. 6'6", 307. I want that right now.
Yeah, projects at the guard position. Yep. Really graded very high. Good player. Really solidifies an offensive line for Auburn with some of the key pieces that will be coming back. Sounds like the visit went really well. He is now moving on to visit Colorado. Can't imagine with how he was blown away with the facilities and some of the things with his family that we've heard and some of the way that the players, Colorado just got the number one offensive lineman in the class to commit. I think that helps Auburn.
Yeah, good point.
So
underrated point right there.
Yeah, that dude's the number one. And so I think that helps. I love this kid, and I think Auburn will probably take one or two more. But this is a guy, in my opinion, that's plug and play, that will start day one, the moment you love that experience. Again, another Power 5 guy, right? I mean, this is a guy that's coming from a Power 5 Big Ten school, not a group of five. And I like that. And I like that experience. He's played against the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Penn State. So it would be a great get. All signs indicate that it was a good visit. I don't know if he's trended up or crystal ball, but I think he's somebody for Auburn fans to keep an eye on, down the road to perhaps commit to Auburn.
Underrated fact in all of this. He's cousins with my neighbor.
Yeah, that's a classic. I don't know. You're going to have to seal the deal there on that. I mean, you're going to have to close the deal. I mean,
I've been asked questions through him. I'm just saying he's interested. Yeah. He's interested. So we'll see. I'm like, you got a standing invite to Locked On Auburn. He's like, do I really? I'm like, I don't know.
If he's your neighbor, bring him over to your house to partake in some of that fine spirits that you have over there that you're a collector of.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about a Christmas carol. Yeah, I'm not talking about a Christmas carol spirits, Christmas present, Christmas past. I'm talking about some other good stuff. You let him partake of that. Loose lips, brother. That'll seal the deal.
The cousin, my neighbor, he's got a full golf simulator in his garage. I think if that doesn't get him here, I don't know what's going to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that combination of what I just said in a golf simulator, that's slam dunk.
Yeah, that's a good Friday night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. So assuming he comes here, I think he starts. And so hypothetical offensive line, ride with me here. Let's go from left to right.
Okay. I think it's Dylan Wade. Until I hear anything else from Dylan Wade, I'm assuming he's staying. So let's go with Dylan Wade at left tackle. At left guard, Bedford.
You put Bedford there, not Jeremiah Wright?
Yes.
Okay, you put Bedford there.
Because what position on a right-handed quarterback do you need to protect and double team a very good edge rusher?
That's a good point. And then another point is the left guard spot was so weak a year ago, they had to move Gunnar Britton from right tackle to left guard.
So that way you absolutely solidify that blind side if you double team an edge rusher.
Good point. Center's easy. Connor Lew.
Our man, skip to my Lou. Love it.
I would do anything for him. Then right guard. Right now, I'm going to go with Jeremiah Wright. I also think Muskrat is going to be there in that battle.
That's going to be a battle. That's going to be the biggest offensive line.
Dylan Cinda is going to be in that too right now. Yep.
That kid's a lot stronger and bigger than when he arrived on campus and will be by the time spring ball and summer comes along. So that could be what you end up doing in that scenario is you let them all battle. And then one of those three moves to the left side, so you have a solid backup at each position.
And one of them Cinda can't, but one of them may transfer too. So we'll see. And then right tackle is too tall. Xavion Miller. So if that was your offensive line, and you can pick any of the right guards that you want that we just discussed, is the offensive line better than a year ago?
It's a great question. I think that. Yes, it is, because you've got three dudes, perhaps four, that are coming back that have played significant snaps.
The system's the same. Yes.
Yeah. And even Lou, who played 4 games, Zach? Did he play 4? Did he start 4 before Avery came back?
That sounds right.
Okay. So look at the combined starts along that offensive line. Only Bedford would have never started for Auburn, but he started at Indiana when Obama was president. So, I mean, I just think that that's a very and a lot of those guys have been in the system and played significant snaps last year. So continuity-wise is the only reason why. Familiarity, experience is why I give it the nod.
Yeah, I think I would make the case that it would be a better offensive line, but not a more talented offensive line. Because
I think our best I think our best offensive lineman graduates.
Gunnar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but the collective whole is better than the individual pieces in this scenario.
I agree with that. Darrell, thank you so much for your time as always. How can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410. You can catch me Monday mornings, Auburn Opelika this morning. And then you can catch me on Tuesday afternoons on the line on the Auburn Network.
Yes, and you can follow me on socials at @Blackerby. Check out all of our written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow as we recap Saturday. Auburn and Indiana, funny enough. So we'll discuss that tomorrow live. Be sure to hang out with us then. Until then, subscribe to the show. This has been Locked On Auburn.